Good morning, YouTube. We're on our way down to the car to address an issue. It is Thursday, a couple of days since the inspection, and first and foremost, I didn't tag the inspection video on the end of the other video, if you're following along, like I said I was going to, because I didn't have a chance to grab my GoPro and start filming because we ran into an issue. I'll circle back to that in just a second. But the car did pass inspection, so that's a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders. I'm going to talk to you about the inspection process, as I'm sure a lot of you are probably curious. It's going to vary state by state. You can actually go on your local state's website to find out what the inspection process actually entails. In Georgia, where I'm going to be registering the car, the process goes like this. First, get in contact with your certified state inspection. They'll have a list provided to you. And then when I call them, they give me basically the same instructions that are on the website, but they, Georgia recommends that you reach out to them. Give you a list of things that you need to do. So first off is take a lot of photos, as much as possible. Better to have more than not enough of the damage as it sits today. So you don't want to touch the car. And then you're going to want to take photos in stages of the damage getting repaired. So depending on the extent of your damage, you probably want to take stages of like cutting out the old metal, and then the next stage of welding in the new metal, whatever. You don't have to have literally methodical step by step, but you want to have some sort of progress of the important stuff. Welding if there's welding involved, the bondo or the body work if there's body work involved, which 9 times out of 10 there probably is going to be, right? Any type of electrical stuff, so on and so forth. So in my case, it was basically cutting out the old radiator support and welding in the new radiator support, and then putting in the new radiator condenser fan, headlight, that sort of thing. So it really wasn't that big of a deal in terms of our pictures. I think we had like 8 or 9 sort of stage pictures. Very simple. And then you're going to need all the receipts of all the parts that you purchased. Now, when you look on your state website, it will probably say including the VIN to those parts. And from my understanding, the inspector told me that's just to ensure that you're not receiving stolen parts. So I'm not sure how closely they look at something like that, how important it is. In my case, I don't have them. Some of my parts came off of used vehicles, sure. I'm not sure that I can get them, so hopefully that's not a big deal, but I submitted it without it. As well as the check that you have to pay the state, and what am I forgetting? So anyway, the inspector came down, walked around the car, looked at the damage that we repaired. To be honest with you, he didn't even start the car up. We put it into the on position, but we actually never fired the car up, which I thought to be a little bit strange, because I replaced a mechanical piece of the car. You would want to think that it's important that the car runs. I don't know. He was really only down there for a few minutes, and then the rest of the time we kind of talked. He told me all the years he's been doing inspections, and all the times that he's seen exotic cars like this, he's always thought, what a huge pain in the ass. And he's 100% right. This project was a huge pain in the ass, but I'm hoping that it's going to turn out in my favor. So, and I'll shoot another video in the future of kind of the whole process, what I purchased the car for, what I've got into it, all that. I don't want to do that just yet, but that's the inspection process. So you reach out to inspector, you get some information from him or her, you make sure that you get together that information, basically photos, receipts, things like that. You get the car fixed, call the inspector back, and you schedule an inspection. They come down, they validate. This is what they want to validate, actually. This is interesting. So he went online to find pictures of the car based on the VIN. So he was only able to find a couple of pictures, no big deal. He's basically validating that the damage that he saw himself matches up with the damage that we claim that there was, and that the parts that we had to purchase matches the repair of the damage, and then of course the repair matches everything. So that's the inspection process. Now here's the funny story. You didn't catch my last video. So the inspector shows up, we're in the middle of doing other stuff, and so we drop everything. So okay, we run to the car. The car was sitting outside because I had just washed it just to get some of the basic dirt off. Plus I shot a video of cleaning out the engine bay, so you can also check that out. So we go over to the car, pull on the door handle, as you probably saw in the last video. Door handle doesn't open, passenger side doesn't open. I play around with this thing for, I don't know, it felt like half an hour, but in reality it was probably only 5 or 6 minutes. But the inspector over my shoulder, getting irritated, you know, it was a long day for him. He kept saying over and over, and I just had the feeling that he's going to say, listen, we're going to have to reschedule. I mean, I felt like we were just right there. And no, the door was not locked. One, you can see the physical lock button was open, but two, we had all already been inside and outside of the car. When we were washing it, the car was working just fine. It was the cable to the door handle that for some reason fails. It happens all the time on the Ferraris. Super frustrating. Shot a whole video about the door handles failing, but the funny part was the guy was sitting there waiting for me. Ended up having to break into my own car. So kind of an interesting video. So now we're going there today, only to take apart the passenger side door panel to find out what I broke, what damage is done. And I reached out to, actually rather he reached out to me, a friend of mine who's got a 360, and he said that a similar thing had happened to him a couple of years ago, and he said it was a simple fix, but he had to glue something, so something physically broke on the handle. I guess what he's trying to tell me is don't panic, because it is very frustrating that here we are at the finish line, seemingly everything is done, and now the door handle is broken. It is what it is. The nice thing is that door panel had to come apart on the passenger side anyway, because when we go to paint that part of the fender that we're repairing, we have to blend into the door panel's got to come off. So in terms of the prep work, not that big of a deal. So the only thing really is what did I break and what's it going to cost me? But we're going to find out today. So I'm going to go ahead and cut ahead and let's go ahead and start taking apart the door panel. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Torx. I'm sure the handle's gonna have to come off. 8, 9, 10 Torx. There's one under there. Let's see. I feel like this comes off. This looks like a separate piece. All right, let's get a prying tool.
Okay, you got two 10 Torx under here, under this little flap here, and you got a 10mm hiding behind this little speaker.
All right, let's take us a second to recap here. There are 3 clips you got to pull out of here. In the door handle, there was not only one underneath the door, but there was one back here. So there's a plastic tray you got to take out of. You have to take out of here in order to get that screw back there. And then this mechanism for the door handle has to come off. You loosen up this first bolt that was sitting on here on this little these gold teeth here. Loose up this first bolt so you can slip it out, detach this from the door handle. The 2 Torx that are at the top here and the one that's on the center here on the bottom are 10s. All the other ones are either all 15s, and then these 3 are 20s. Huh, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Oh shit. Let me tell you what happened. So, because of the lighting, you're not gonna be able to see. So let me describe it to you. On the door handle, there's an elbow where the cable like this runs to, obviously to unlock and lock the car, right? So the elbow's connected to, it's a plastic elbow, it's connected to an elbow like this. So this goes into the door handle. When you lift the door handle, obviously this pulls, engages the cable, unlocks the car. Pretty simple. Now my first thought was this cable failed. And that's what happens is these cables get frayed, they rust, and all sorts of stuff happens inside this little sleeve here. However, or I was thinking the plastic clip that holds onto this guy was broken. So this was this kind of just fell out. However, the fix was simply this somehow came out of the plastic elbow, and that was literally the fix. Reached my hand up in there, grabbed it, stuck it back in there, clipped the elbow on, made it nice and secure. want to close that too hard because the window's loose. And now we've got functioning doors. How about that? Not so bad. Didn't cost me a penny. I do have extra plastic elbows that I purchased, and I've got an extra one of those cables for the time that it actually does fail. But I think probably what happened was the day of, I probably grabbed this so fast and so hard. I don't know. I guess it somehow pulled it out of the plastic elbow. So good news today. It's fixed. Didn't cost me anything. Nothing broke. Nothing major. That's a win. I'll take it.